Hi, everyone. My name is Nicholas Kress, and I'm the Outreach and Engagement Coordinator for Housing and Residence Life here at the University of Idaho. I would like to start out by welcoming you all here tonight, and tonight will be a great time to get any questions that you might have answered. If you do have a question that you already know about and would like to answer, please open up the question and the answer button on the FAQ and feel free to write in any question. We will be answering both live, and we also have a couple of individuals who will be typing answers to you as well. We unfortunately will probably not be able to get to all of the questions asked due to time, but why don't we go ahead and get started with seeing who we have for panelists. From Housing and Residence Life, we have Dee Dee Knickerberg, who is the Director of Housing and Residence Life. Dee Dee will be joining us via phone tonight. We also have Corey Ray, the Associate Director of Housing and Residence Life, Jennifer Skinner, the Customer Relations Manager, and then answering questions written, so they will not be answering them live, is Lauren Smith and Daniel Urita, who are both customer service representatives. With the Dean of Students Office, we have Dr. Blaine Eccles, who is the Dean of Students and Vice Provost for Student Affairs. With Vandal's Dining, we have George Hewlett, the General Manager, and Brianna Musella, who is the Marketing Specialist. And with Vandal Welcome, we have Ellie Burnell, the Admissions Event Coordinator. Okay, to start us off, we're going to have a greeting from Dee Dee Knickerberg. Welcoming you all here.
Good evening, everybody. So happy that you are joining us on this fine Thursday evening from the Greater Palouse region. Very excited to engage with our families and our students. My team has been very busy preparing for your arrival, and we are in the thick of getting ready for MoveIn, and our Residence Life staff is back, fully engaged in training. So we are very excited to welcome you, and we hope to answer all your questions this evening between our team, the Vandals Dining team, our partners in enrollment management, and of our course, our great Dean of Students and Vice President for Student Affairs, who will be answering questions tonight for the greater campus community. Look forward to engaging with you all.
Awesome, thank you, Dee Dee. Okay, so first up, we'll give a couple of updates about each area to see if we can answer a few questions without you having to ask. We will start tonight with housing general updates from Jen.
Hello, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. We are so excited that we're nearly to our move-in days, because we have multiple days this year, and I think that that has been one of the biggest updates and changes for us. We're welcoming our students back starting August 19th, 20th, 21st, and then for our non-first year students, we're offering the 22nd and 23rd as well. So make sure you get out there. We are requiring you to sign up for a time slot for move-in this year. So if you haven't done that yet, make sure you get out, read your email. The link is in there, and get that time slot selected so that we know you're arriving and we can prepare to be fully ready for you. I think beyond move-in day, we've had kind of a lot of questions around our tower occupancy. So we did have to reduce Theophilus Tower to be single rooms only. And that was in conjunction with our public health partners and the university as a whole. So that has been done. Everyone is situated, assigned, and ready to move in. So we can't wait to see you all. Make sure that as you're packing your belongings, that if you already have your favorite face covering or buff of any sort, make sure you grab those, pack them, bring them with you. You're going to need them as you arrive to our campus. We will have those that we're going to hand out as well. So if you do forget one, or you need additional, or just want another awesome Vandal face covering, we've got you covered. So when you arrive, we have those here for you. Make sure you pack cleaning supplies, right? Every year we say this. This year it's more important than ever. We really, really need students to be doing frequent, often cleaning, sanitizing within their own spaces, their own environments, to be best prepared. Don't forget your Vandal card. If you have not yet gotten your Vandal card, that's like your key to campus. It has your access, your meal plans, student rec center, you need that to get in. Going to, a football game or any sort of concert or anything that hopefully we can get to eventually this year, and you get to participate in, that Vandal card is really important. So we have sent out a few reminders, social media emails with links. You actually can order that online now. So get it before you come, they'll mail it to you, and then you bring it with you. So I think those are the biggest updates. This week, the biggest question we've gotten is, do I have to have my COVID test before I can move in? No. For housing purposes, you can move in and then you get your test. So there is a link, you got an email, go sign up for your testing date and time as soon as possible after you've arrived to campus. And I think our Dean of Students is going to talk more about the classroom requirements, but I wanted to take the housing side of that. It's been our most frequently asked question today. So, all right, I think that's it for me. We can always talk more later.
Awesome. Thank you, Jen. Next up, we will have Corey Ray give some updates on residence life.
Good evening. So as you can imagine, there has been some policy changes here at the university, including in the resident halls. Jen kind of touched on the face covering, but it is one of our biggest changes, where face covering will be required anywhere on campus while you're inside the buildings. That is a requirement, with the exception the privacy of your own room. And of course, when you're at dining, when you're eating. Secondly, face coverings are strongly recommended when you're traveling between buildings, but when you're traveling between buildings and you can't stay 6 feet apart, then you are required to wear face masks then. So we just ask again that you bring that. But as you can imagine, there's also other policy updates that'll be happening, and I'll give you a couple, but I will not go over all of them. Our resident assistants have returned to campus. We're starting the training process with them, and they will be having floor meetings to go in detail in the smaller groups about what's changed and what is really the expectations of students. But the big ones are really, first, the guest policy. During the course of the beginning of the year, we're going to have a tight guest policy, and we can loosen up as time goes on, as things, we get a feel about how things are going. Obviously, nationally, if there's improvements in the numbers, or more importantly, if there is a vaccine, et cetera. But at first, when we begin, guests will basically be allowed from the area that you live in. So for example, if I'm in the tower, other tower folks can come and visit me and hang out. But if I live in the tower and folks from off campus are trying to come in, we're not going to allow that. Again, it's about trying to keep our communities as safe as possible. It's about keeping our communities with those that live in the community. And then again, as each week goes by, we'll be able to loosen those restrictions if the conditions are right. So that's one example. Another example are kitchens. So for most of you, you're on meal plans if you're coming to the university for the first time, or first-year student, and you'll hear from Diane about what they've done. But if you're an upperclassman living, say, in the LLCs, or living in one of our Stevenson Hall or McConnell, there are kitchens available. Even if you're a first year, you can use the kitchens as well. The kitchens will have signage, but we're limiting the number of people in the kitchens. For the LLCs, for example, there's only 2 ranges anyway. So again, 2 people cooking at once is where we're really going to limit it. There are some exceptions to those rules, which the RAs will explain to each community, but obviously your suite mates, or if you have a roommate, you guys can cook together, you're already living together. There are exceptions to allow that. But again, we're going to try to limit some of that. We've also take precautions within our lounges and recreation spaces where we've removed some of the furniture so that we can allow smaller gatherings instead of larger gatherings. But we are still programming, we're still putting on events. It'll just be done differently, smaller groups, more active things outside. And so we are still planning to have a social events schedule for those that do arrive and live with us on campus. And then finally, again, I have student staff who have arrived. They're excited to see everybody. They've been putting in time and they're continuing to work hard the next week and a half to learn all they can so that they can be ready for you. They're here for you, and when you get here, obviously they'll have floor meetings, but you can also ask them questions too as well as things come up. So please use those resources. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Corey. Next, we will have some updates in the Dean of Students office with Dr. Eccles.
Well, good evening, everyone. It's my absolute pleasure to be joining you tonight. Thank you so much for spending some time this evening with us, and we're hopeful we can address a lot of the questions you may have, but we're sure that you've got plenty of them. I'm happy to talk about some things that are happening outside housing and residence life and kind of give you some updates and insight into what the university is doing to prepare for your arrival. COVID-19 is obviously first and foremost in the minds of a lot of our students, but more likely a lot of the minds of our parents and family members, and that's very understandable. We've been working incredibly hard to prepare the university for your arrival. And so on the slide, you'll see 3 different links, and I'm going to talk about each of them here throughout my conversation with you. But the very first one is actually the bottom link where it says uidaho.edu/coronavirus. We have an enormous amount of information on that page, a lot of FAQs, a lot of data that I encourage you to go out. We have prior town hall conversations, a lot of information where you can get a lot of further information on the plans, aside from the brief few ones that I'll be touching on. And if after you're done with this town hall tonight and you have some additional questions about what we're doing in regards to COVID-19, we have an email you can send a simple question to called COVID-19 questions@uidaho.edu. That's also on that webpage that you can see right there in front of you. Let me touch just on a few of the highlights of what we have going on campus here to maybe address some of the questions that you have. First of all, we have our testing capability. You've probably heard us talking about it, but we have the ability to test for COVID-19, and it started. We started today, as a matter of fact. We've had 3,000 people sign up for COVID-19 testing here at the University of Idaho already. I went through and got tested just yesterday. I was down in the facility, the Student Recreation Center. We have a whole section blocked off, by the way, away from everyone working out, where the testing is being done, and we're doing it in conjunction with Gritman Medical Center. The test results are going to take 24 to 48 hours, thereabouts, for it to come back. We're still working through the nuances of how quickly the machines can turn that over, but that's our goal. When students are on campus, you'll see thermal scanning in some of our sections, in some of our spaces, primarily our food court areas. One of them will be here in the Idaho Student Union building. The other one will be outside the hub down in Wallace Residence Center before you go in there, so that as you're going into these spaces where you can actually eat with your mask off, we're actually screening students that might be symptomatic or getting sick by having their temperature scanned. And it's really quick, it's painless, and it's simple to do. We are requiring face coverings in all of our campus buildings, all of them. There's no exception. In your classroom, when you're going down the hall to the bathroom from your classroom, when you're walking over to a place to get a candy bar out of a vending machine, you're gonna need to wear a mask. And there will be times on campus outside where you can wear a mask. You can wear a mask outside as long as you're 6 feet apart, but we may have some events outside that we're gonna ask you to mask up in those spaces too. So just keep in mind of that. All students, all employees, all members of the Vandal family are gonna be asked to fill out and acknowledge the Healthy Vandal Pledge. That's basically information that we're providing to individuals that helps bring you up to speed on expectations for what we're asking you to do to help keep this campus open. And we're going to be giving all students, once they get testing, a little PPE kit. This is exactly what it looks like. It's got your face covering in it. It's got some hand sanitizer and a little information card that you'll get once you get tested or once you move into the residence halls. And it's a great way to start it up. But I am recommending students come with more than one face covering. You should bring at least 2, if not more, so that you can wash these on a regular basis. And I know sometimes college students don't wash things on campus as readily as they do at home, but it's a good habit to get into, and it's a great way to set yourself up for success. The last thing I'll talk about is our classroom setup. We actually have created social distancing in all of our classrooms. We've actually taken over some of our large event spaces. So our large international ballroom, which seats over 500 people, we've actually using that for a classroom this fall. Several of our other ballroom and event spaces here on campus, we're also utilizing that way for classrooms. So that way we're taking our large classes, moving them into even larger spaces to have that social distancing. There are so many different things that we're doing right now on campus to prepare for your arrival and have a successful fall semester. But I will be absolutely honest in saying, students, that some folks are nervous about college starting, and many students come into campus. It's going to be up to you to make the responsible decisions that helps keep campus open. We can't do it for you. This is where responsible decision making, wearing your face covering, washing your hands regularly, using hand sanitizers, and maintaining social distance. That's how we're going to keep campus open. That's how we're going to create a successful fall semester for you. And in the odd chance that you're nervous, you're concerned, you do get sick, and you want to know how you can reach out to help, that's the third link that's on my page there. It's right in the middle. It's called uidaho.edu/vandalcare. You can file a care report and someone will reach out and help you out. We work incredibly close with Housing and Residence Life, as well as our campus partners, to make sure when students reach out or their families reach out on behalf of their students, that someone will be responsive and reach back and connect with you and figure out what we can do to support you. So that being said, I'll stop right now and I'll turn it back over to Nick, and I look forward to further conversation.
Thank you, Dr. Eccles. We will now move on to Vandal's dining updates with George and Brianna.
Hi, everyone. First, I'd like to welcome all of you to the University of Idaho, and we are so excited to have you join the Vandals family. And while things may look a little different for you this year than you're used to seeing, I do want everyone to know that everyone here at Vandals Dining is so ready to make your experience as interactive and enjoyable as possible. So first, I would like you to know that if you are a first-year student living on campus, you will still be required to purchase a meal plan. And each meal plan does include a certain amount of meal swipes, and you'll be able to use those at our resident dining location, which is called the Hub, and that'll be automatically integrated onto your Vandal card, so you won't have to worry about having any separate transactions. And each meal plan also does come with a set amount of dining dollars, and these dining dollars are essentially a declining balance that is also loaded onto your Vandal card that can be used at any of our retail locations on campus, excluding Starbucks. So we do have Chick-fil-A, Qdoba, and a wide range of retail locations for you to choose from. So that means your Chick-fil-A sandwich is waiting for you, don't worry. And these dining dollars can also be purchased at any point during the semester if you do happen to run out. And something that we are integrating this year on campus because of COVID and all of the social distancing guidelines that we are following, we'll be implementing Grubhub, which is our online contactless ordering system in all of our retail locations. So please be sure to download that app to your phone so that you can limit that ordering contact with others. And it's also a great way to skip the line during your short break between classes, so please feel free to jump on that. Our Vandals Dining website will also be offering enhanced online grocery ordering options that you'll be able to order ahead of time and pick up at our convenience store location if you do happen to be living in a residence hall that does have a kitchen, and you feel more comfortable prepping your meals kind of at home in your own space. And our retail location is called The Grid. That's where you'll pick it up, and it will be located on the ground floor of the Living Learning community. So all of that being said, there are a few things that I want to go over that may feel a little bit different than you're used to when you dine with us in the fall. So first, we do really want you to understand that your health and wellness, as well as that of our staff, is of our utmost importance. And that's why we're going going to be following all of the CDC mandated guidelines as well as state guidelines to be sure that you're having a safe experience with us. So I'll just walk through a little bit how all of this is going to look. So first of all, when you enter the hub, which is the name of our resident dining hall located in the Wallace Residence Center, each guest will be able to self-swipe their Vandal card and be encouraged to utilize the touchless hand sanitizer stations that will have placed at the entryway around the servery area. So once you enter, we are temporarily suspending cash transactions just to avoid that kind of touch system. And a 6-foot distance will be mandated between guests and staff at all times, but don't worry, you'll have social distancing floor signage and directional signage telling you where to go. We'll also have lots of protective barriers in place to be sure that the service stations are limiting contact between you and our staff. And because of this top contact list between guests and staff, all things will be placed in front of you. So bowls, plates, to-go items, and then you will pick them up. So no hand-to-hand contact will be necessary. If you are dining in with us and not taking your food to go, all of our tables for our guests will be placed 6 feet apart, and it will be no more than 6 guests to a table. Dining guests, instead of returning your dishes to our conveyor belt that takes them back to the dish pit, this year you're going to be taking them to designed designated areas within the hub. And once you do exit the dining area, a frontline team member will thoroughly disinfect all contact surfaces before seating the next guest. So you can be sure that your table, chair, everything top to bottom will be cleaned before sitting down. And all dining guests at this time will be given a new drinkware glass each time you'd like a refill. And we will be also utilizing the use of single serve drink items as well. Enhanced sanitation areas will be implemented every 30 minutes. So that includes the back of house, which is where we prep all of your food, as well as in the dining area. So regardless of use, every 30 minutes, we will be going through and cleaning all of those stations and areas for you. So earlier we did mention the use of thermal scanners on campus. Thermal scanner monitoring will be mandated in the hub, and that will be upon the entrance before you walk in. And just in case your temperature tests above the designated limit required for entry into the hub, you will be asked to kindly visit our express lane, which is a really awesome thing that we're implementing this semester. It's a convenient grab-and-go station that's located at the south entrance of the Wallace Residence Hall. You'll just walk a little bit around the building, and you'll be able to grab and go all to-go items. Your full meal will be included. Instead of just interacting with everybody else that may be sitting down in the hub, you'll be able to grab and go those items with no extra hassle. All of your necessary eating items will be included, and this order will be prepped with all the necessary safety guidelines for to-go offerings. And since we are an extension of the university, all students, employees, and guests will be constantly wearing masks at all times, just to ensure everyone's safety. And our express lane does change frequently as well. So if you're worried about options or if you're going to be getting as much variety as you were previously, that's absolutely true. We'll be changing that out periodically to make sure that you guys are still getting a great food experience with us. As far as dietary restrictions go or allergies, I just want everyone to know that we do strive to accommodate the full spectrum of dietary needs. So we do have a station specifically designated for you that is free of 7 of the top 8 allergens for any guests with dietary restrictions. But should you feel that your needs really aren't met through this, or you might be going through some really specific allergy focused issues, please reach out to us. We'll be happy to accommodate your needs. There is a dietary accommodation form that you can fill out on the University of Idaho website that is it gets directly sent to us so that we can review that and contact you at a later date and possibly set something up with you personally if your dietary needs aren't met through our regular rotation. So again, everyone here at Vandal Dining is really excited to give you a great home away from home experience as long as you're with us. If you have any questions about this, feel free to reach out to me personally, or really anyone on your dining team, because we're all really here for you in the end. And don't worry, we'll still have some really awesome, fun, interactive activities that are just a little bit more social distance than you're used to, just to give you that really enhanced experience with us. So at this time, I'm going to turn it back over to Nick.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Next, we will go to Ellie with information from Vandal Welcome.
Hi everyone, I'm so excited to see you all back on campus in just a few weeks. So Vandal Welcome is our experience for our incoming students here at U of I. Like everything else, you'll see some changes this year with required social distancing and required masks at all times. It's a great opportunity to learn about campus resources, connect with your peers, and participate in a lot of really fun activities we have planned, from mask tie-dyeing and axe throwing to our Vandals in the Know resource panel. For family members and parents, our orientation has gone virtual this year. It's accessible to you now over at our Vandal Welcome website. You can learn about a variety of topics there, such as student health insurance requirements, academic support programs, career services, and more. I'd also like to invite all our parents and family members to join our virtual parent and family sessions, where you'll get to chat with representatives from your students' college and learn about their time here at the university. And that's all I have. I'll turn it back over to Nick now.
Okay, thank you, Ellie. Okay, so now we will enter into the question and answer portion of tonight. Again, if you have a question that you would like to ask, please open the little button that has Q&A on it. It'll either be at the top or bottom of your screen, depending on how you have your screen oriented. And we will be answering those both live as well as typed, depending on the question. So why don't we go ahead and get started with a residence life question for Corey. Corey, why does the guest policy now only allow residents of the same building as guests if we are all required to get tested?
That's a great question. And you know, last month when we did this, you know, I had stated that we were going to be more restrictive and that it was going to be left to each individual building at first. And here's why. Well, first of all, the staff will get to know you personally, but they won't know every student that attends the University of Idaho. So first, it's just something for our staff. It makes their work harder. Secondly, not everybody that visits is a U of I student, whether it's friends, family, a cousin that lives in the local area. We're also seeing that we have students that take time off from time to time. So again, you may have been a friend with somebody last year who's decided not to go to classes this fall. Again, we don't know who's the student who's been tested or who's the student that hasn't, or if they're a student at all. And so again, as I mentioned, we're going to start off really restrictive, and I understand that. But you also have to understand that as we go each week, we're going to learn how's it going, and as we go, we'll begin to be more open. And so we'll get to a point where the halls will be open to folks from other halls, and eventually, right, get back to what I would call normal as we go into the fall. But you're right, when you first arrive, it will be restrictive. And again, to answer the question directly, is because everybody outside that community, we don't know who's a student and who has been tested.
And Corey, does that also include siblings who might be living in different residence halls?
Yeah, that's a great question, because we also have, you know, such as siblings, but friends and you know, significant others. I understand how all that works, and yeah, it's pretty tight. If you feel that you have a situation, so I'm just going to make it up, since I have a brother, I'll say a brother situation. This is where I would talk to your staff once you get here, and it's easier to have that communication in person to help navigate that and make sure, because again, it's about making sure that the staff know who you are and who the guests. And it's easy for the tower staff to know the tower residents, but they're not used to knowing, say, somebody from Gooding. So again, it's always important to communicate with your staff and talk about it so that we don't have misunderstandings.
Okay, thank you so much, Corey. Okay, I've got a question here for dining. Is there a place where students can pick up any grocery items and still use their dining dollars?
So at this time, the place where you're going to pick up all of your pre-ordered grocery items will be at the Grid in the LLC, which is the Living Learning Community on the ground floor next to Joe's Cheesy Grill and Papa John's. We're working on integrating dining dollars into our Grubhub app, so be looking for that. Currently, we're in the process of transitioning that over, so hopefully we'll have that by the beginning of fall semester.
Awesome. And George, we haven't heard from you yet.
Yeah.
What are the 7 out of the 8 allergens that are covered in the dining hall?
That's a good quiz, and I don't know that I can answer them all. The one that there's 8 common allergens, and there's 7 of the 8, and the one that's the 8th is some types of fish. So we do offer fish as an option, and for some people that may be an allergen they have to be sensitive to. But it is gluten. It's soy, and again, I'm not an expert in that particular field, but it's gluten, soy, it's,
So I can piggyback a little bit off that. So George was right in saying that the 8th allergen that may or may not 100% of the time always be considered is fish or slash shellfish, since sometimes we do offer that in the dining hall. But the other 7 would be soy nuts, peanuts, wheat, milk, tree nuts, and eggs. So that's everything that you will be allergen-free in that station called Simple Servings. And we will have that station every day. It will rotate every day, and we'll have new options for you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you both. Okay. Jen, we've got a question about move-in day here. Do parents get to enter the residence halls to help their students move in and get situated?
So this has also been a frequently asked question lately. Yes, if you need assistance with moving your items into your hall, and your parent is the most qualified to do that, or really wants to come and help you, we are not going to prohibit that. We are strongly encouraging you to limit any sort of unneeded entry into the halls. This is the point in time where students are arriving and they have not had that test yet, and they definitely don't have results back yet. And so we really need to try to limit that interaction with our students and with our staff within the halls in order to continue remaining open for the whole year. So please help us if you are with your student and they've got it because they're using a cart and they can push that up to their room and you can hang outside, then awesome. But if you need to help them, that's great too. Just limit the ins and outs. So if you go in, maybe you wait in the room and your student does the rest of the heavy lifting while you're in the room helping, unpack their items. So really limiting the time in the hall, the time that you're around other students is the key factor here. We know you've been with your student, right? So the student and you are good and you're always wearing that face covering. We're trying to limit the interactions of outside, family members with other students that they haven't been around.
Awesome. Thank you, Jen. Okay. Dr. Eccles, we have a question about student clubs. How are clubs going to be handled this year? Will they still be happening or what can you tell us about those?
Absolutely. One of the great things about the university is we have over 200 student clubs and organizations students can get involved with on campus. And if they can't find something that they're interested in doing, they can form their own club and we'll help support them in doing it. Now, some of the things that may be different is how students and organizations gather and get together and or have club meetings. Like I said earlier in my presentation, we've had to take over some of our meeting spaces on campus in order to move some of our clubs and organizations into other locations. And so, but yeah, we have opportunities for students to get involved. We have a Department of Student Involvement, that's literally its name, located in the ISUB. We would love for you to come by and talk with one of our staff members there, but definitely talk with other students in the residence halls, in particular our RAs. Many of them are involved in student clubs and organizations, and they can talk to you about what that looks like and what their experience is. If you're interested in chess, we've got a club for you. If you're interested in sending weather balloons up into the stratosphere to take pictures of the Earth curvature, we've got a club for you. We have a rocket fuel club, or we used to have a rocket fuel club. We've got all kinds of clubs. And so we have a golf club too, actually. So you can get involved in many different things, and we're looking forward to connecting with other students with similar interests.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, we've got a question for Ellie. This is technically a move-in question, but I'm gonna ask you, if parents don't want to, or family members don't want to assist their student with moving in and their student is capable of doing that, is there somewhere that they can go or something that they can do while they wait for their student to move in their belongings?
Yeah, if your student has got it all covered and want to carry all their stuff in, like getting all the groceries at once, we are doing a parent and family letter writing station out on the tower lawn, as well as some info tabling. So all you'll need is your student's residence hall address, and we'll be writing letters to them to send out throughout the year. We'll also have some of our orientation leaders, which are our student staff members, out and about to help answer any questions you might have.
Awesome, thank you. And on the same note with, that kind of goes and coincides with that, Jen, we have a question about where a map can be found for move-in day that shows where people can park and maybe some other areas that's marked that they need to know about for move-in.
That's a great question. So the best place is to ask your student, because we sent them that in an email. But if you are just trying to navigate that yourself, it is on our website. So all of our move-in materials are located on our website. That includes the map, the move-in guide. It's wonderfully easy to find there. I think maybe we can get it up on the screen or in the live question session that Nick runs behind the scenes on this session. It will come out again. We will be sharing a move-in guide reminder again as we near move-in. Probably next week would be the anticipated time for that. So the map is there. It shows you where to park. It shows you how move-in's gonna look, what to expect. So yep, that's where you find it.
Okay, thank you, Jen. Okay, this one's gonna be might have a few multiple people that will answer, but we'll start with Dr. Eccles. What should you do if you think you have COVID, and where do you go?
Sure, excellent question, and that's likely to come up multiple times. First of all, we have a Vandal Health Clinic here on campus. It's important you know that. It will be opening August 19th, and it will be available to students. And it's located up near the administration building in the ISEB. So it's a short walk from our residential facilities. We have a medical physician. The beautiful thing about the University of Idaho and the Moscow campus in particular is we have a very close working partnership with Gritman Medical Center. And from where I'm sitting right now in the center and the heart of campus, it's literally a 10-minute walk down to the Gritman Hospital. And I've walked down there before to go visit students when they're in the hospital. If a student is feeling symptomatic, we're gonna ask you to isolate in your room. Hang out in your room, place a phone call, and get over to the medical clinic or seek guidance. If you're symptomatic with COVID-19, we definitely want you to be doing that too. File a Vandal Care report, and we will help get you to where you need to go so you can get some support. We will also work with getting you retested. We will do retesting of students. We call it surveillance testing throughout the semester. We may not mass test everybody, but anyone that's symptomatic, we will test again. The university purchased these machines so that we can do continual testing throughout the entire semester at no charge to students. This will not be charged to your health insurance from that aspect of it. If a student does contract COVID-19, we've identified an isolation unit on campus where we will help relocate you for the period of time that you need for your recovery, and then we'll help you get back into your residence hall room. So we will deliver food to you. It's set up for Wi-Fi so you can participate in your classes or watch Netflix if you really want to, or something like that. We want you to study while you're there too. But sometimes when you're sick, it doesn't feel that great. That includes individuals that are asymptomatic but test positive. Even though you're feeling fine, we're gonna ask you and help you be relocated to this isolation unit too until you're cleared by public health. All of these plans that we have in place have been approved and reviewed and approved by public health, and they're excited about our opportunity to support our students in those challenging situations. I don't know, Nick, if that kind of readily addressed the questions, but I went a little bit further. I know some folks are probably wondering about the isolation space too.
I think that answered the question great. And just kind of one more portion of it, I've got a couple of people who have asked, Is the U of I expecting a large amount of positive COVID tests?
Sure. So, that's an excellent question. The infection rate in our society is about 1 to 2% in general. I don't know why we would be any different. We've got plans in place if we do have students coming in, but this is, again, where you can protect yourself by doing 3 simple things: wear face covers, social distancing, and washing your hands frequently. I know some people think that, hey, if I get a test and then it comes back negative, then I'm good to go. Well, the test only shows you didn't have COVID-19 at that point in time. An hour later, 2 hours later, you could contract it. So it's important you maintain healthy behavior even after you get a test and after you get a test result that says you're negative, you don't have COVID-19. So ongoing, moving forward, you have to make sure you're making the right responsible decision.
Awesome, thank you. And then another couple of questions on Move Out that I will send to Jen. Could you please go over the dates that students have to move out, such as breaks, maybe fall break or winter break, and when can they move back in?
Yeah, absolutely. So, of course, with everything COVID, this is subject depending on what happens once everyone's here on campus and we evaluate and see how things are going. But the current plan for the residence hall students is that you're welcome, and quite frankly, from the residence hall side, encouraged to maybe not travel over the fall break. Stay here, we're open. You're paying for the room for that whole semester, use it. Right? We're here for you. If you're going to go home, the university is encouraging that then maybe you don't return, and that's why we're going to online classes for the last 2 weeks of the semester. But classes are going to resume again in January. So it's really important that you keep in mind that those healthy behaviors, even if you're going home or traveling, those are even more important if you're then coming back to our campus. And we hope that you are. We are hopeful that all students are coming back for the spring and that we continue on this journey together. So important dates for us, but again, we remain open. Your room is yours. If you want to stay, we're here for that option. Fall recess is going to be November 23rd through the 27th. But we don't close for the residence halls. Fall break will begin on December 19th. So that is the, unless you're living in a living learning community area, all of our other buildings do close for winter break. So you leave all your stuff, you take your suitcase or your traveling stuff that you're going to use to go home and visit parents, and then you are welcome to return January 10th for the spring term. And that is when the halls will reopen to everyone. Typically, if a student needs winter break housing, we're able to work with them. So if you are not in a living learning community building, but you don't want to travel or are unable to travel over winter break, we do have options for that. So you will get emails. You can also contact our office and we'll help you with how to get housing for the break. And then I guess we should go all the way to May. We don't close again to students until May 15th. That is the closing day for the residence hall. So essentially, from the day you move in, the only closure is over the winter break period in the residence halls. The rest of those we do remain open.
Awesome, thank you, Jen. Another question for residence life. Corey, when interacting with students, will your staff be spending time with students and asking them not to hold big parties, like maybe at some of the off-campus areas where some of that might happen? And are there going to be stricter guidelines this year so they do not bring in any cases of COVID?
I don't know about stricter guidelines. We do maintain an academic environment. There are quiet hours. The city has ordinance when those quiet hours start. Those things will be enforced as usual. Obviously, if you're underage, alcohol, those kind of things shouldn't be in the community. Large gatherings, even if this wasn't happening, if we were in the middle of virus happening, large gatherings don't really happen in a room anyway, right? It brings noise, it's loud. Alcohol or whatever doesn't have to be involved. So, to me, all those interactions that staff will have when communicating with students are going to be normal. There's nothing really different about that other than the guest policy, like I mentioned, where we're going to be restrictive at first. Now, if you are 21 and older, I encourage you to look at the handbook and see what the guidelines are for you. But again, there are some rules with that. You know, you can't contribute to underage. There are some limits on how much you can have in the privacy of your own room. But again, those are all things that happen normally without what's happening in the world today. So to me, I don't think we're changing anything in those regards. Staff will always communicate, particularly if students are, particularly during quiet hours, are a little loud. You know, staff will, usually give a warning and just remind folks. But again, once you get here and get into the rhythm of the academic year, it becomes pretty natural. So I don't see restrictions being more restrictive. And then as far as partying off campus and stuff, again, I think it goes back to what Dr. Echo says. You've got to make good decisions. You've got to make decisions where, not putting yourself in a situation where you show up to a space that has 200 people that really should only be 20 people, right? And I think that those are things that individuals are going to have to make those decisions, because we can't monitor what happens off campus or in other locations on campus.
Awesome, thank you. And Corey, there's a couple of other quick questions that we've got. Will any of the lounge spaces be different or closed? And then also there was a question to clarify on the LLC kitchen usage. How is it going to be ensured that there are only 2 using the kitchen at a time?
So, so about lounges first. So yes, we are going to reduce some of the lounge furniture in our communities, rearrange. Obviously the larger couches that seat 5 at once may be removed while still having chairs, the comfy chairs and the love seats present, and just arrange differently to allow that spacing. So we're not closing lounges at this time. For those of you that were with us in the spring know that, and really too, a lot of it at the time when we closed those lounges in the spring is because, right, we were still learning how to work and how to live during, I'm gonna call it a crisis, this pandemic. I'm learning a lot of new words: pandemic, pivot. These are all kind of fun words we're saying nowadays in the new world. We're going to allow space. There'll be study space. We'll still have the student success program up and running, but instead of allowing the normal amount of students, we limit the amount of students that can be present for tutoring, academic help. But we're also going online with a lot of that too, so that you could do both from your room if that's what you feel comfortable, but you can still get live tutoring in person as well. And the other piece about the kitchens, first of all, the staff will, when you arrive and you have your floor meetings, will go over the rules. And so it's really a two approaches. One, we're asking the community to respect the policies and respect each other to keep each other safe. So I would hope that there's self-enforcement. So when you see somebody say who's not wearing a mask, you might remind them politely to wear a mask. That's an example. So if you see suddenly too many people in the kitchen, that's a good time to remind your neighbors and your friends, hey, remember we have this policy. And of course, staff will always enforce policy as well, and communicate, educate residents until it becomes part of the natural. Now, I can already tell you that for the LLC specifically, there is a natural rhythm already that happens each year about when people cook. They know when they cook. I think it's more of the larger cooking with your friends situation. And again, since you're already living in a suite with your suite mates, we're allowing that to happen, or with your roommate, we're allowing that to happen. It's really more of the person that lives above you or below you or down the hallway. Those are the times you got to watch out and keep to what we're recommending. And again, that'll be explained in the floor meetings in more detail. But yeah, we really count on you to help us keep each other safe and remind each other to follow the precautions.
Awesome, thank you. And Jen, I'm going to pose this question to you, but if somebody else needs to jump in, that's fine too. So if a student tests positive in the residence hall, how are they going to be quarantined? Will there be someone checking in on that student, and how often will they be checked in on? Also, how do they get meals?
Okay, so first I want to start with we use a lot of words, and words seem to have different definitions depending on the day lately with COVID, but let's start there. Quarantine is different than isolation. So if a student tests positive, it's a confirmed positive result, they're no longer quarantining. We're going to move them to isolation. Okay, we're going to get them into an isolated room, not potentially exposing folks within their suite any longer. At that point, most likely the suite mates / roommates will do quarantine until they get a negative test result back. So let's say this doesn't happen in the first 2 weeks. So everybody got back negative tests, everybody's good, and then a student gets sick and they get a positive result. At that point, the rest of the roommates / suite mates will go to quarantine mode. We'll get them retested. The student who's confirmed positive is going to get moved to isolation. We're going to have staffing for that. We're going to get meals to them, as well as to our quarantine suite, because now they're not leaving either until we get those cleared results, okay? An exception to that could potentially be made by working through the Dean Eccles and Vandal Healthcare if a student wants to go home immediately if they've tested positive. So again, it's really going to depend on the scenario and the situation, but I want to be really clear that the words and the definitions do really matter. So when we talk quarantining versus isolation, those are very different things. But positive test result equals isolation space. And if you had roommates and suite mates that could potentially have been exposed now, we retest and we quarantine those folks together until we get negative test results. That Dr. Eccles can probably speak a lot more to that, but.
Jim pretty much hit it on the nose on everything. And one thing I will suggest tangentially connected to this is, you know, the semester can be long, but we're encouraging students not to travel at all once they arrive. So we're saying, come here, stay here till fall break at Thanksgiving, and then go home. And that's a hard thing to do. But the whole transfer thing is really kind of difficult because you never know when you might pick up COVID-19. But if a student needs to get home and because they have COVID-19, like Jen said, yeah, you can do that. And that's okay with us. But just be mindful about, you know, I always, even today when I'm sick, I'd like to go home and be taken care of by mom and dad. But sometimes part of being an adult is growing up and you got to work through it on your own a little bit. But we got supports for you without a doubt. But Jen hit it on the nose.
Awesome. And then is there going to be any cost if you do have to be isolated? Is that an extra cost?
No cost, no extra cost for the food. We'll help get you over to that space and everything. So no cost whatsoever.
Thank you. Okay, and Jen, this is another question for you. With regards to Wallace having 4 people share one bathroom, that could be conceived as a little bit different than having single rooms in the tower, and with density and stuff. Will you talk a little bit about density and how we decided on what buildings would be adjusted?
Yeah, absolutely. So when public health and CDC are talking high density, 4 people isn't even on their radar. So they actually thought even the tower, they were like, okay, the community bathrooms is where we come into it. So when you have a building of 400 people, it'd be like living in a big city and 400 people live in a building together. And they're using the same hallways, the same elevators, the same bathrooms, day in and day out. That's high density. And that's why we reduced the tower. It is our one and only building that has community bathrooms that has that large of a population. So the recommendation was to cut that in half if we could. We were successful in that. And with with increasing the cleaning frequencies and sanitation of touch points, we feel fairly confident, but it still relies on our students, as Dr. Eccles and Corey have shared. You've got to still wear that face covering as you're going to the bathroom, as you are going to a different hall to visit a friend. Don't take it off at the doorway. Don't expose your friend. Like, wear your face covering while you're in the room visiting your friend in the tower, if you live in the tower. That's how the guest policy works, right? You still got to protect yourself the whole time. So as far as Wallace goes, yep, we've got 4 people. They have a bathroom within their room, right? So they are cleaning that. They need to set up a schedule. And that's why we're really urging that bringing your cleaning supplies, doing frequent cleaning and sanitization. Those are 2 different things. So you have to clean before you can disinfect. I think that's an important life lesson, right? I have a daughter going off to college as well this year. And that was something I just thought everyone knew. Guess not. I didn't teach her that. But you got to clean first and then you use your disinfectant. So that's really important. When we're talking in words like high touch points, frequent things, think about doorknobs, right? Your desktop, your computer, your phone. Oh my goodness, please clean and disinfect your phone. If you invest in nothing else, invest in the little wipes for electronics that you can clean with and then disinfect with, because that is a huge thing that germs live on. So those are kind of some things to think about. So cleaning becomes really important, but we do recognize you're sharing a bathroom with the same people for the semester, right? So it's the same people you're interacting. You treat it like your family at home. All right. So that's our best advice to you is you're going to wear your face coverings. You're going to socially distance. You're going to clean, wash those hands constantly, do your laundry. It's free. It's included. Do your laundry as often as you want. There is no extra charge for that. So those are just really important things that our students have to do to help us this year. I hope that answers it. If anyone else wants to throw something into that, feel free.
Okay, thank you, Jen. It looks like we've got 4 minutes left, so this will probably be our last question. I'm going to send it to Dr. Eccles. With regards to the PPE that will be handed out, so the face coverings and the hand sanitizer that's going to be handed out when they arrive, will those be available throughout the year if students lose it, and are students encouraged to bring their own face coverings?
So excellent question. We have procured enough to provide a face covering for all students when they come on campus this fall. We likely will have some extras, I'm sure. I can't guarantee you will be able to get one for free. That being said, we are selling them also down at the bookstore. We're going to have workshops. I know our student involvement is going to have a face covering tie-dyeing workshop so that you can be provided a face covering and do a tie-dye, design it how you want. So we're going to create lots of opportunities for you to have a face covering. But like I said earlier, you absolutely should bring your own face coverings as well. It could be a buff, a really good bandana. We're not going to allow you to pull a t-shirt up over your face and go into our buildings and think that's covering it or anything at all like that. So, but you know, it's about being responsible. And here's the whole key for success is don't do things because we're telling you to. Do it because you know you should be doing it to protect yourself and others. That's the way you need to be thinking about it. And in a really good way is act as though you have COVID-19 already. And that's how you're going to protect everyone else around you. Even if your test results are negative, act as though you have it. And that's how you should be engaging in your interactions with others because you don't want to get that to them. But if you run out of a PPE, let us know and we'll see if we can track one down for you. Otherwise, they're really, I mean, everyone is producing PPEs. You can get them all over. Etsy has some incredible designs. I know our bookstore has some great Vandal PPEs too. And so we encourage you to Vandal up and look at, even though you're wearing a face covering. It's great.
Nick, I'd like to throw in there, because someone did ask, yes, you can wash them. The ones we're giving you are washable. We encourage you to wash them as frequently as every day. I mean, some students do that. I personally choose to do that. Not everyone does, but yes, they are washable. So they're not like a use and throw away disposable face covering. So don't throw them away, put them in the laundry, wash them, reuse them.
I'd also like to piggyback that off of that as well, as far as dining goes. When you are entering our resident dining hall, the hub, we will have some extra PPE on hand, disposable masks for you to use because we do require you to wear masks while you enter the dining hall. But again, there are other options out there for you. Please bring your masks with you to campus, more than one, like Blaine has said. please follow those rules. But just in case you do forget, we want to make sure that everyone is fed, so we will have some extra masks on hand for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, it looks like we are out of time now. So I would like to, again, thank you all for joining us. We do look forward to seeing you on MoveIn Day. And until then, go Vandals.